This is our second presentation to you. We are the Global Supply Chain for Northwest Distribution team. And last time we met, we talked to you about some problem statements, objectives, our schedule, as well as some literature review we did. And now today we are going to discuss a review of our problem statement, the approach that we took, current business operations, the logistics, inventory management, impact, and next steps.
So Northwest Distribution is a new company that we're working with, and it is an import and export company that distributes American goods to Thailand. And as we mentioned last time, the company lacks an established supply chain, so they took a logistics deal for shipping their goods overseas through networking, and they were unsure of whether they were getting a good value with this deal. Also, they do all of their transactions on pen and paper, so their inventory management system, it is really non-existent in Thailand. So these are some things that they brought to our attention and that we were going to look into for them. So we played a consulting role for Northwest Distribution with the suggested areas to look into that I previously mentioned. Our approach for this project was to first establish a flowchart of how the current business is run, to understand the pain points and issues that the company leadership sees as they are looking to expand the company, to brainstorm methods as a team for how we could improve this process of their business and their current supply chain, to pitch ideas to Northwest Distribution, discuss implementation strategies with them. We also got the opportunity to actually go visit the operation in Thailand and observe the business in real time. So we went and did that on spring break, and then we distributed our formal report of recommendations to Northwest Distribution. So Northwest Distribution purchases containers of liquidated merchandise in the United States. Most of the time they purchase unmanifested containers, so they don't necessarily know what products they're getting, but the products are sorted based on an unofficial demand communicated to them from their operation in Thailand. Basically just local Thai people telling them what might sell. They then sort the goods into those that could be sold in Thailand and those that might not be able to sell in Thailand. The container is then delivered to a port in New York. It is shipped overseas, as mentioned before, using a deal that was made through networking, and it arrives at the Lam Chabang port in Pattaya, Thailand. The container is then loaded onto a truck and delivered to the storefront in Pattaya. The merchandise is sorted into different sections of the store. It's a 4-story store, so the items are staged as they might be in a home, and then certain items are spoken for ahead of time. So since items are in high demand, American items are in such high demand in Thailand, a lot of the time they are spoken for before they even get there, so they could sit in the store for several months until a buyer can come to claim them. And then customers also come and browse the store and make their purchases via bargaining or negotiating. They pay cash, and then receipts are handwritten and note of the transaction is made by hand.
So, like Lindsay mentioned, one way that the business can improve is through logistics. So basically they made a deal with someone through networking to ship their goods, but they weren't sure what else was out there. So our goal was to compare multiple shipping companies to determine which option was the best. In order to do that, the first thing we did was create a request for proposal. So this was a formal way of our company communicating with other companies to see who would be a good fit and who would best satisfy the company's needs. We used information that we assumed for our company, as well as numbers and weights used from the previous shipment. Once we received quotes, we did an analytical hierarchical process, which consisted of not only the quotes, but also reliability and lead time. So this is just a snapshot of what an AHP chart looks like. Basically, it takes the 4 different companies that we did analysis on and ranked them based off of the different criteria, the criteria being cost, reliability, and lead time. So we give rankings towards which criteria is more important and which company seems to do which criteria the best. And then from there, it'll give you a rank of which company to choose. So based off the rank, you can see World Class Shipping had a 0.39, which was our highest ranking, which would lead us to choosing them to be the shippers. We didn't include the current provider in our AHP process, but then we compared the winner, World Class Shipping, with the current company. And even though the current provider is cheaper, when they used the current provider, they printed the bill of lading wrong. So once the containers arrived at the Lam Shebang port, there was a lot of havoc and chaos that happened. They had to all go down to the port, try and figure out why the bill of lading was wrong. It cost them $2,000 and an extra week of time in order to get their containers imported from the port. So that just shows why reliability is such a huge factor, as well as cost. And based on all three of those criteria, World Class Shipping does seem to do the best, even though it is a little more expensive.
Inventory management was the last area that we really focused on. And some of our goals with inventory management were understanding the current system, how it operated. We then wanted to research and compare other options to maybe enhance this system, to understand more information throughout the system, and then recommend a solution for Northwest Distribution to help track the inventory and create demand forecasts in the future. We wanted to compare a few different options for inventory management solutions based off of the existing system. Some of the things that the existing system performed really well was it was very low in cost, because pencil and paper surely doesn't cost very much. Training and time would be very minimal since it's already existing, and implementation of Thai culture was not a problem. However, what it really lacked was its versatility, its ability to understand demand, and the ability to scale it as this business continues to grow. So we looked at two options. First was WASP, and WASP is a barcode tracking system. It's kind of basic, low-level, $3,500 program that tracks the progress of items, usually throughout a production floor and sometimes between multiple warehouses. However, some of the things we felt it lacked were its training and cost. Time was kind of mediocre, and we didn't feel that the versatility of the system was all that great. We wanted a program that was going to allow us to understand our goods from the start to the finish, and we came across QuickBooks, which was an interesting option because it compares inventory management tracking with a point of sale system. We found that this would be greatly beneficial, particularly because of its user-friendly nature for those in the Thai culture. However, we did understand that there would still be some opposition because it was a new computer system and very different than what they already have. The cost is also a little higher in QuickBook with a reoccurring $3,000 cost. But the versatility and scalability we found to be great strengths of the program. So the decision we ended up making was going with the QuickBooks option. And the reason we liked this the most was A, because of its user-friendly nature, and B, its ability to share information from the very beginning of the process all the way until the end. This was going to really help with demand in particular, as well as just understanding where items were in the system. Both of these should help to increase profits by increasing sales and to really drive the business towards the actual demand of the consumer. If this inventory management system was able to help increase sales by just 1.5%, that would pay for it on a yearly basis. However, we believe that this system could add at least 5 to 10% to the year's profits, which would be an extra $7,000 to $17,000 a year once subtracting the cost of the system.
So the suggestions that we made to Northwest Distribution through this project could impact the company in several ways. By adopting a new inventory management system, there could be money saved through the loss of inventory, whether it's by theft or whether they're just misplacing items and forgetting that they have them because they're not tracked in a system. Also, administration tasks such as taxes or just business finances can be expedited because the numbers will all be in the computer rather than scattered on random papers where they have to add them up by hand, and there's a lot of error associated with that. Also, having a reliable shipping company can reduce cost and time, as well as just make things a lot more efficient. As Jordan mentioned, the issue with the bill of lading, issues like that could be avoided, and that is a high value to the company. As we mentioned earlier, we had the opportunity to actually go visit the operation in Thailand. So a couple things that we noticed that we thought were worth mentioning about the difference between doing business in the United States and in Thailand. The first was negotiating. So most of the transactions are done by negotiating, and this was important to consider when suggesting an inventory management system because the prices aren't always consistent from what you might think they will be through the end of the sale. That could change during the sale due to the negotiation process. So the next step for this project is for Northwest Distribution to make the decision whether or not they're going to move forward with the distribution suggestion that we made and the inventory tracking system that we suggested to them. So if they do decide to adopt one or both of these systems, then we would have a potential consulting role to determine a strategy for implementation for these systems. So we look forward to seeing you this upcoming week for question and answer. Thank you.